You are now listening to AB on the Unpopular Opinion Podcast.
What's up, everybody? You are now listening to the Unpopular Opinion Sports Podcast. I'm your host, AB, today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We are in Bull City Studios, getting it in right now in Durham, North Carolina. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We got some interesting topics for y'all today. We got Desean Jackson comments, his distasteful comments about the Jewish community. We're going to talk about that a little bit and how it's been perceived. We're going to talk about Victor Oladipo, his rumors to the Heat. We got the jersey in the back if y'all can see it. He talking about him potentially being with the Miami Heat. We're going to talk about how that can look in Miami with him and Jimmy Butler and the rest of the squad out in Miami. We also going to talk about ESPN executives said Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady are not in the top 5 quarterback discussion. We're going to talk about that all here on the Unpopular Opinion Sports Podcast. Let's go ahead and get into it. Pat, what's good, baby?
What's good?
Let's
good,
go.
man? What's going on?
Let's go. Another episode, man. How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. I'm ready to get into it.
Get into it. Yes, sir. So the first things first, man. Desean Jackson, tell me what you think about his comments and what he had to say, the quote in full.
Well, the quote that he made was definitely a little questionable with the way that he went about it.
Mm-hmm.
But he did later correct himself, similar to previous incidents where he did issue an apology, saying that it was a misunderstanding of the quote that he posted for what the message was that he was trying to actually portray.
Right.
So that's why I feel like the league and the team isn't really getting on him as hard about it as everyone kind of wants them to in this situation.
Yeah, and I feel like Desean has a interesting outlook, the way people perceive him,
Mm-hmm.
Like he comes off as thuggish or, like a outlandish, not a team guy, but he's actually all of the opposite of those things, you know what I mean? Like he's never been in trouble off the field. He's never really, had any issues within the team. His reputation amongst other NFL players are good, but I feel like the way people see him is this guy, this brash guy who kind of causes trouble. But, he was nothing but humble in his response, and he apologized, and, like you said, things came off the wrong way the way he said it. I think the problem was when he mentioned Hitler, mentioned that Adolf Hitler said it when, honestly and actually, he didn't say those things, and I think that's the part that got him in trouble, and saying that, black people are the chosen people of Israel. If that's what he thinks, that's what he thinks, and, that's an opinion, but I think people had a problem with the Adolf Hitler part.
Mm-hmm. Which is very true, because that's why, as you see, the Holocaust survivor is trying to invite him to Auschwitz and everything. Yep. He's accepted the invitation. Mm-hmm. He's definitely down to go and become educated, which is another big step that I like from the situation, because nothing's wrong with being wrong if you're willing to go and be educated.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So he's taking that next big step with trying to learn about the situation and the matters at hand that he was previously uneducated about.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention Julian Edelman and other people from the Jewish community has been saying that they want to be educating him and not canceling him. We in a cancel culture these days. You know how that goes. So everybody wants to cancel everybody so quickly. But the Jewish community, some of them has done a really good job of trying to embrace him and educate him. And Julian Edelman is one of those people as well that he kind of talked to right after the comments. And I also wanted to mention Riley Cooper. He had some comments that were distasteful as well. He actually said the N-word with the ER on the end. And, not only he got in trouble per se, but he also got a brand new contract from the Philadelphia Eagles the year after that. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way as a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I was hoping once those comments came out, I was like, I hope they don't cut Desean, because that would be really wrong to treat him that way when Riley Cooper, even though the comments are different somewhat or whatever, they're still both distasteful comments and hurtful to their respective communities. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, especially with the Riley Cooper situation, because Riley Cooper's was more of a super aggressive tone, especially it was more like he was especially trying to threaten the security officers just at a simple concert.
Right.
He was intending on disrespecting someone. In the case of Desean Jackson, he didn't intend on hurting anyone's feelings.
Right.
Like you said, he was just stating his opinion, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and everyone's entitled to have their opinion about those opinions.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to move on from that. Victor Oladipo to the Miami Heat. Like, what are you thinking about that? Everybody knows I'm a big Victor Oladipo fan. You can tell by the jersey behind me. I'm a big fan of his. I like his game. I like what he brings to the table. Tell me what you think he could bring to a Miami Heat team with Jimmy Butler and the rest of the squad.
Not as much as they will have to bring kick out. I feel like it would be a good move in the sense of bringing a solidified player in the league. Because granted, his first few years, he didn't play all that well. He had some troubles, but then he finally got his feet under him his first year in Indianapolis. Indiana. And so when he got there, he had his feet under him. He had his best year his first year there. 75 games. He had 17.4 points per game, or 23 points per game that year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And all of his numbers were the highest of his career had so far. Since he's been in Indiana, God, I can't say that word. But since he's been in Indiana, though, he's had injury issues. So after the first year where he played 75 games, he's only played 49 games in 2 years. Granted, this was a shortened season, but still, he only played 49 games in 2 years.
Well, that major injury he had last year was a very serious injury, and he had to take the rest of that year off, of course. And this year was kind of like Paul George had. You remember when he had that serious leg injury, and they kind of gave him a year to kind of recoup. And then once he came back a few of the games at the end of that year, but the next year he came back and he was looking more like himself. So I think that's kind of how Indiana was trying to go about it with Vic, kind of give this year to be kind of like just get your back in shape, just make sure you feel more comfortable being on the floor again, competing at the highest level. And I think next year they were going to bring him back, full force. And I like Vic, man. I think he can be a 20-plus per game scorer consistently. I like his shooting percentage. I think his three-point percentage has to, it's pretty decent. It's around, if he can get it up to like 35 or above 35% three-point percentage. But like I said, I like his game. He's an intense defender. A lot of people don't give him credit for that. He's very good on the defensive end. I think him and Jimmy Butler on the perimeter will be a force to reckon with.
He led the league in steals that first year in Indiana as well.
2.4.
I just feel like I said, I just feel like they'll have to give up too much because in order to get Oladipo, what would you have to give up? Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Herro,
maybe Duncan Robinson,
maybe a Derrick Jones, and probably still a pick too, just because of the name that Oladipo holds. And then with the injury like that, there's no guarantee he'll come back like Paul George did. So it may end up not being worth it in the end, and it'll shoot the Heat in the foot. So I don't feel like it's worth the trade at this point. Like maybe see what he does, but then he's going to be worth a lot more. But I still just wouldn't risk it at this point.
And as much as I love Vic, I don't think he puts them over the top or over the hump to be a championship contender. I mean, they're the 4th seed, I think, in the East right now. So I mean, they're upwards. They're in the upwards trajectory. But I know they really want to probably get Goran Dragic, get out of Dragic's contract and maybe trade him. That probably would have been one of their selling points, maybe. But we'll see. I like the idea, but I just don't think that it would put them over the hump where they need to be. You know what I'm saying? That's that top upper echelon in the East, competing with like the Bucks and things like that. So last topic we're gonna get into is the ESPN article that says that Tom Brady, the GOAT, and Lamar Jackson are not amongst the top 5 best QBs in the league. Tell me what you think about that, man. They got Rodgers, Russell, Watson, Breeze, and Mahomes as their top 5 quarterbacks coming into this year.
I don't know what kind of football these guys have been watching over the last few years.
These are executives, coaches, and players and scouts.
Exactly.
Saying this.
I don't know what they've been watching these last few years. I mean, Brady's numbers, I don't even have to get into that because Brady's numbers speak for themselves. I mean, the man has everything he could ever want.
I mean, he's had a down year last year. Let's not act like he didn't have a down year.
The Patriots led the league in drops. So down here, I'm not even going to go there. We had our best receiver was Julian Edelman, who's on the back end of his career, and he was hurt for the majority of the season.
Now, is that a valid excuse? Because I think the Cowboys led the league in drops like last year, too. And then we had the Eagles had a bad year in drops, but we still made the playoffs.
The Patriots made the playoffs, too.
Yeah, but, I mean, that doesn't... People try to discount Wentz or say that Wentz isn't that good anymore because... You know, his production, even though he still had good production. So, what does that say about Brady? Maybe they're using that same scale. That's what I'm saying.
Brady still produces. It doesn't matter what you give him. He still had a good year last year. The defense played well. He played well enough to get him into the playoffs. It just wasn't meant to be. Okay, so who you taking out? You taking out Rodgers? You taking out Russell? Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers has to go. And you putting Brady in instead of Rodgers? I'll put Lamar in over Rodgers. I mean, even because, like you said, Brady's on the back end of his career. I don't really feel like he's going to get any better at this point. So I would put Lamar there because even though Lamar can't get a playoff victory, Lamar Jackson has proven himself as a solid quarterback who you would want to lead your team because he has the ability to take the top off of any defense by himself without any help from the receivers and the running backs except in the blocking game because he just has speed and he can also throw the ball. So
yeah, Lamar just causes so many issues for defensive coordinators. You know, like if I was a defensive coordinator, I don't know how I would defend Lamar. Honestly, like I would have to have a top 10 defense for sure. I would have to have a disciplined defense, being able to read all my keys, make sure we fill in gaps. Like, they're just going to be tough. And they got the kid from, I think, Ohio State, the running back. I really like him, man. I really like that draft pick. Their second-round pick, I think Dobbins, J.K. Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins.
Man, I really like that pick. So you got Mark Ingram, Lamar. That's a three-headed monster back there. As long as Lamar can stay healthy, that's the key. You know what I'm saying? Just continue to slide, get out of bounds when you need to. You know, if it's one-on-one, you can make a guy miss. If it's a safety or a corner, I say, you know what I'm saying, try to get more yards. But if it's a linebacker or somebody, bro, just get down. That's what I would say.
Because you don't want him to end up like Vic and waste a lot of his career on the sidelines with the injury.
Exactly. Or fumbles, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have a guy out there, he doesn't really work on ball security much when it comes to running. Quarterbacks typically don't. So, you know, we want to make sure that's on point, you know? So, yeah, man, that's it for today's episode. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for watching. We appreciate it, man. We want to hear y'all unpopular opinions in the comments below. Let us know what's going on, man. Let us know how y'all feeling, what y'all think about our takes, or, you know, I want to hear y'all takes. We comment and we interact with our fans. If you want to donate, if you want to give graciously, we appreciate all donations. The links will be below for patreon.com and also for Cash App. So we need y'all support. Even if it's likes, subscribes, whatever, man. If you really messing with us, if you really like the content, let us know by giving us a like or subscribing. We really thank everybody, like I said again, for just tuning in, and we out of here.